Hey there YouTube, it's Renderer. For those of you who just want the contract, the download link is in the description. All it costs is a like on this video and a subscribe if you're interested in weekly content about making money with Blender. Just make sure to watch the rest of the video so you understand what you're legally agreeing to by using this contract. Also, a quick shout out to all of my viewers outside of the US. I've included a link to a contract that works for the rest of the world too, so just make sure you download the right one. Alright, so first thing, Exhibit A. Exhibit A is just a document with information that is to be referred to in a contract. In this case, just a brief description of the work. There's a link for this example too to help you write your own, as this example here basically just outlines the point of this animation and what the goal is. Moving over to our main contract here, we start by stating that Exhibit A is necessary to refer to basically understand the context of this contract. So the first section, scope of work, basically just says to the client, hey, you know everything we talked about, right? I'm gonna do that. The payment section basically just says, you're paying me this much and you're paying me half now. I recommend this model so you don't have someone who ends up ghosting you after you finish all the work. I got kind of scammed out of almost $13,000 and hundreds of hours of work because of something similar to this. And if you want me to make a video about that whole story, let's try to hit 500 likes on this video. Also, this part covers revisions. I highly recommend doing this because instead of clients lazily asking you for one revision at a time, so you're going back to the drawing board over and over again, you're now basically putting a lot more value in the revisions, saying that you get 3 for free. It encourages them to build a list of revisions, and then you make it clear what you're going to charge hourly if they exhaust those. It just makes it so you're not sending them final render after final render after final render, because if you've been there, you know. Just make sure to make it clear to them that one revision can be a list of things. As far as payment platforms go, there isn't much wrong with just going with a peer-to-peer service like PayPal, but I think it's more professional to use invoices. If you're doing a larger project, you can kind of create an itemized invoice, and it kind of makes you look like more of an established business as opposed to just a random kid on the internet. I used to use Stripe for this, but they randomly froze my account with $1,200 locked inside because they clearly haven't evolved enough to understand what digital goods are. So for that reason alone, f*** Stripe. All my homies hate Stripe. I recently signed up for Square, so we'll see how that goes. But I've yet to use it because I have a strong relationship with all the clients I'm working with and they just wire me money. So for now, no middlemen, payment processor fees, or freezes or anything. This completion date section basically just says, I'm gonna do my best to have it done on time, but you can't sue me if I don't. And then this ownership and intellectual property section just says any materials or information that they share with you should be kept secret. It's not quite as serious as an NDA. If there's something super confidential, usually they'll have you sign an NDA. But for everyone's sake, you should probably just not leak company secrets. Also, this section says you're basically giving up rights and or ownership to these images. And yet, since you did do the work, it also says that you are free to share it on social media or in a portfolio for the purpose of showcasing a past project. This section is what allows me to share my work in these videos. And then confidentiality, same as before, just don't leak stuff or be weird. And then the termination section basically says once the final project is delivered, the contract is over. It also says that the client will not be refunded the 50% deposit even if they aren't satisfied. It's important to include this part even if it sounds a little bit harsh. And to be honest, I'll basically go to any length to make sure that the client is satisfied. It just protects you from weird people who might try to abuse your revisions or take advantage of you in any other way. So if somebody's being a scumbag and you've fulfilled your end of the contract, you basically have the right to cut it off and say, kick rocks. But yeah, I've yet to ever actually charge someone for revisions, so you probably won't need this as long as it's written. And then finally, in the governing laws section, you just want to put your state. If you're using the international version of the contract, just put your country. And then finally, you just want to sign it and then send it over to them and have them sign it. And once they send it back to you, just get your 50% deposit and then you're good to go. So while this all seems great and pretty foolproof, there's a degree of complexity that I want to be transparent about. And that's basically that if something goes wrong between your agreement and things get legal, your first step there is basically just getting a lawyer. And for many people, finding a lawyer over an $800 payment, for example, might just not even be worth it. So to that I say, generally when you have a contract, people just take you more seriously and are less likely to violate the rules or try to rip you off in some way. But also it sets a really good, strong, and formal foundation for what the scope of the project even is. And I'd say in most cases, as long as you and the client are just being respectful to each other back and forth, no one really wants it to become a legal thing. If something bad does happen, you do have a contract to fall back on, which I think is the reason why everybody should at least just have a simple contract like this. So that's about all I have today. Once again, I'm Renderer and I make weekly content about making money with Blender. If this video provided value to you, please drop a like. And if y'all can get this video to 500 likes, I'll post that video about how I got finessed out of 13K. See ya.